coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Give me the gun, Max. Thank you. Woohoo! Oh, boy. Wait till I take you out shooting. I know you've been programmed from birth to the ways of the left. Listen, here's my issue.
Yeah.
We're going to go to 20 after and take all these calls. Frank, Lance, Dan, Chris, Steve, and others with Max Kaiser. And I'm going to have you on the news. And I want to tape some special stuff for the Sunday show.
I want to plug my site.
MaxKaiser.com. We're going to talk about
my other site.
We're going to talk about it all.
No, we're not.
After we take calls here in a moment.
Okay.
But seriously, the only anti-war thing that the left is allowed to talk about is worshiping the Palestinians because it's a political football like abortion or gay marriage or whatever to divert from the rest of the highway robbery going on. And it's always a litmus test. You know, do you want Israel blown up? Well, then you work for them if you don't want Israel blown up. So my issue is there's so many other things going on, Max, that I'm just saying I refuse to. It's like Ferguson. I'm not pontificating or I'm not extricating myself out of it. I'm not diverting out of it when I say it's a larger manipulation and that both sides are doing wrong things. That's really what's going on there. There's this primitive thought process where people shift to one side or the other. And sometimes there are things that clear. Like I'm on the side against cancer or I'm on the side against child molesters. But on a lot of issues, it is complex. Max Kaiser.
It is one conflict amongst many around the world, and there's a lot of propaganda on both sides. And my feeling is that Israel has been manipulating the U.S. government in a way that's shameless. And
I agree with that.
They're committing acts of atrocity that need to be answered for.
But do you understand how nasty the anti-Israel crowd is? Not legitimate people that have real issues.
But I asked those same people, like Sean Hannity at Fox News. I mean, if somebody showed up at his backyard and started to chop down his house and move into his house, into his backyard, and take everything he owns, I'm sure Sean Hannity would do whatever he takes to defend his property. So why shouldn't that right be extended to people in Palestine, people in Gaza, who are having their territory removed over the decades? Similarly. So where's Sean on that point? Nowhere. He goes over.
Well, that's it, though. The Israelis went into the country in the 40s after World War II. They carved it out. They started blowing up government buildings. And then they got the city basically divided and got part of it and then took over and have been expanding ever since. So, yes, but from their perspective, they had the land before, so it's theirs. But from the Palestinian perspective, they had it before. And the truth is,
well, the rule of law goes back to the Resolution 181 in the UN, which divided Palestine from Israel. 1947, 1948, you had the modern state of Israel. According to the rule of law, this is where we mark the beginning of modern Israel, and we don't go refer back to the Old Testament or these other documents. We say this is the post-war reality of the situation. And in that context, they have gone into these territories illegally, and they have imposed restrictions that you'd have to go back to Nazi Germany to find something similar by giving Palestinians calorie counts on every single day, by blocking their movements, or keeping them essentially in a concentration camp and open-air prison.
Sounds like the Michelle Obama lunch program.
Well, I mean, coming back to the U.S., you see a lot of these ugly truths in the U.S., Ferguson being an example. The same forces that are driving this occupation in Gaza from a well-armed, well-financed Israel are driving these incidents in some places like Ferguson, which are driven by the corporate agenda, corporate media, the same victims, you know, the people in Ferguson that who are being victimized by the sudden martial law being declared spontaneously and having the military show up unannounced, essentially, in just a small town with 21,000 inhabitants. They've got essentially a militia ready to roll out at a moment's notice. Exactly what you've been saying for years, that the danger is within our borders with the same...
Well, no, I've not tooted my horn, but it is true. Everything I've worn now is big mainstream news. Because it's here. The police state isn't coming, it's here. We're going to take calls. Max Keiser's got some big announcements straight ahead. But first, your calls. Frank, Lance, Dan, Chris, Steve, and others from Infowars.com Command Center with weapons everywhere.
A chemical spill contaminating the water supply in 9 West Virginia counties.
This year alone, over 300,000 people in West Virginia had their drinking water contaminated.
What are the health effects of having these drugs in our drinking water?
It's forced medical treatment without the consent of residents.
My friends, water filtration is one of the most basic actions you can take to protect you and your family from the harmful toxins and heavy metals in your tap water.
On average, the county says it sprays with the glyphosate at least once a week.
Few filters cut out the glyphosate that is found in water supplies worldwide. Remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, hydrofluorosilicic acid, sodium hexafluorosilicate.
Fluoride, it is in tea, it's in coffee, it's in water, it's in bread, it's in toothpaste.
It is our responsibility to protect our families. The establishment's not going to do it. It's time to take action. It's time to filter our water. Visit InfoWarsStore.com and use promo code WATER to get 10% off their entire family of incredible products. Or call toll-free 888-253-3139.
Mike Stenerson for Midas Resources. At no time in history have precious metals been more important, certainly not in my 22 years in the industry. The dollar has lost over 90% of its value in the last 60 years. No fiat currency has ever survived the government printing presses. Ours is not immune. The time is now to be proactive. 1-800-686-2237, extension 116. Anything tied to the dollar is at risk. CDs, annuities, 401ks, IRAs, stocks, bonds, you name it, so decide. Do you want to leave a legacy of wealth or debt for your family? The choice is yours. Call me at 1-800-686-2237, extension 116. That's 1-800-686-2237, extension 116. Be proactive, not reactive. Call 1-800-686-2237, extension 116.
How's your pH today? Are you acidic? How alkaline is your blood and body? What is the pH of the water you drink? We are AlkaVision, and we have the answers. Drinking pure, high alkaline water is one of the most important factors in maintaining vibrant health and high energy, because bacteria and viruses cannot survive in an alkaline, high pH environment. If your drinking water isn't at a pH level of 8 or higher, boost it with AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops. Our unique formula will alkalize your water, ridding your body of harmful toxins and acid, and help regain energy and health. Simply add 10 drops of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops to help your body rid itself of acidic waste, increase oxygen, and raise the pH of your body to optimal levels. Order your bottle of AlkaVision Plasma pH Drops for only $29.95 at alkavision.com, spelled A-L-K-A vision.com, or call 800-518-7615, 800-518-7615. Alkalize your body, supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
What's his name?
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all those assembled to immediately disperse.
It's a military mission in North St. Louis. Heavily armored vehicles are rolling into town.
And don't be alarmed if you see those over the next 7 days rolling through your neighborhood.
If you see military helicopters flying low over Minneapolis, do not be alarmed.
Guns will be taken. No one will be able to be armed. We will take all weapons.
Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in.
Just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
All right, we've had a very spastic interview with Max Keiser, but it's exciting to have him here with us, myself included. We're going to do an interview on the Nightly News. It's going to be very focused on the economy and world events and Bitcoin and a lot more with Max Keiser tonight, 7 o'clock Central. And if I have time, I'll tape another interview we can air during the live show this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. He's got some announcements he's going to make here in just a moment. But first, MaxKeiser.com, of course. Let's go to Frank in Nebraska. Been holding for a while. I know you're going to have a lot of different issues to talk about. Thank you for holding, sir. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex, Max. I also watch your show. I'm calling in Omaha, Nebraska, and early in the morning, Wednesday morning, or yesterday morning, I saw a report on Yahoo News, and they're saying that there's a bunch of chaos going on, a whole bunch of people throwing Molotov cocktails, and all chaos was breaking loose, so that the police force had to go in and disperse the rioters. And then later I watched your show, and it was like opposite of what they said.
Well, there was one bottle thrown and then one Molotov thrown, but very lethargically, and we've caught the feds before staging things. It may have been real. The point is, bringing all the force out, attacking the reporters, helped escalate it all. And this just illustrates the police state we are, getting in this country. I mean, remember, they denied the NSA was listening to us. But there were problems on both sides. But I guess, what do you call that? You call that punting, for me to just say both sides did stuff.
Equivocating, I think, is a...
I don't think it's equivocation to not take a side.
That was not in context with this question, Alex. I mean, you're not...
No, but it's the same thing.
Now you're teleporting.
Now I'm catapulting the teleportation.
But let's get to the caller. Here's a point I think is interesting to make. When the cops showed up in military gear, it made the violence worse. The next day they showed up in cop gear, and people were a lot calmer. So their very presence in this militarization of the police is inciting riots, is inciting violence.
Yeah, imagine if foreign armies landed like this and we're doing this. People go crazy.
Right. Is that the point of wearing the military garb? Is it to put down the violence, or is it to incite violence? Because they incited a lot of violence. The next day they show up in regular cop gear, and suddenly people were a lot calmer. So I think there's a good point, a good question there. Because it seems like they want violence to ensue because, as you point out in your show, and I would agree with you, there's a need to get people to buy into a lot of violence that needs to be put down, and therefore authorizing more militarization, more spending of militarization of the police, and to bring in more martial law.
Well, if you look at the video of the man that was shot, he's a big guy, Michael Brown. I've seen the video now. It's up on Infowars.com. I mean, he went in there, stole what he wanted to, ransack, attack the shopkeeper, and that's why we have guns.
Right, but...
have you noticed the thugs always attack places?
But look, let's put it in a broader perspective.
Well, he had a big rap sheet.
I'm not going to say that this would apply specifically to this case, but if you look at the broader economy, people are really suffering from this.
I know, but we don't know what really happened with the shooting, and I think it's sad if it was wrong. The point is that the people looting isn't a good response, and then the police attacking reporters isn't a good response. It's like everyone's acting like a bunch of jerks, is my point.
Right. I mean,
here's the thing. Why didn't America act like this previously? If this is so normal and so good, Max.
Because the economy is shrinking. Because the economy is collapsing. That's why same thing in London. The mayor just ordered 4 water cannons. And he said that he expects riots this summer.
We've also got 100 million people on welfare in this country, and a lot of people are just lazy, dumbed-down morons.
The opportunities are not there because all that wealth's been forced into the precipice of the very...
Oh, I agree.
So those opportunities are not there. It's not... People are not... Being on welfare is not easy, Alex. It's incredibly demeaning, and it's incredibly enervating.
But if you're on corporate welfare like...
J.P. Morgan, Halliburton...
Look, we're on the same page, buddy.
They're taking all that free cash, then they're sucking it out of the economy.
Frank, what's your bottom line? You're saying you saw 2 different things watching the feeds. You read one thing, saw another. I mean, I've looked at it. I think our reporting is the closest to the truth you're going to find. Because it's live, it's on the ground, there's hours of it every day. I mean, you can just decide for yourself. What do you think of that?
Anything. They didn't mention anything about reporters being attacked or nothing. And then after I watched your show, I came back later, and they took it off completely. They had a completely different story posted in its place.
That's censorship, right?
After they found out that it got leaked, that the media was attacked, they changed their story.
Interesting. I appreciate your call, Frank. Well, look,
Washington Post reporter, a black guy, got attacked, and suddenly there were flowers and rainbows coming out of those militarized police buttholes.
Stop it.
Over backwards to make this look like nothing was going wrong. You see what I'm saying? Once a Washington Post journalist was revealed, suddenly they got the word up from up high, change everything. We're getting national attention. This is no longer just a local example of us beating people up for no reason, and everything changed in a heartbeat. This is what happened. This is what the caller is pointing out.
No, I'm aware of what you're saying. And that's the PSYOP, them coming out now and saying they were helping everyone when they were shooting our reporters.
Yep.
For no reason. It just shows the training they're getting from the feds. This is federalized standard training. The vehicles, all of it came from the feds, the uniforms, all of it. And it's because they're getting ready for martial law. They're getting ready to take the pension funds, and they're getting ready to use the giant welfare